am Ricky Cloutier with CCL Controllers. And if you are currently watching this video, you have either A, bought our Bud 32026 K32 kit, or just happened to stumble upon this video wherever we have it hosted. Now, I will give you a heads up that I suck at building videos, or making videos, or talking in videos. Once I get building, I'll be able to ramble, and it'll make a little more sense than me just sitting here in front of this awesome box. But what I wanted to do is basically, instead of giving you some instructions on a piece of paper telling you how to build this kit, is actually do a video so you can kind of follow along. If you bought our kit, you'll be able to follow right along. If you're trying to piece this together off our kit, you can probably do that as well. So I'm probably not going to do a whole lot of editing to this video. It's going to be probably pretty long and maybe boring at times, like when I put 32 glands in, etc., unless we do a little fast forwarding action in that area. So feel free to skip around. But basically, we're going to take this kit from, I just ordered my kit from CCL Controllers, and I want to build this K32 all the way to this thing is plugged in the wall running. So like I said, this video may be, I don't know how long it's going to take me. I haven't actually timed myself to build these. I've built like 3 of them. I think I have the kit down now, so that's the other thing, is I may have missed something in the kit. So to start with, this is what you'll get in the mail. It'll come just like this. You're going to be like, ooh, my new kit came. I'm so excited. So if you got the kit, the only things you're going to need, unless specified different, because we don't sell them, is you will need to purchase your K32 from Daniel Kulp. And I usually get mine set up from him. Let's get past all the crinkly noising part and get rid of the crinkly noiser. We'll go ahead and put that right down there. So this would be your K32 that you'll buy. When I purchase it from Dan, I like the black screen, just me. I get the FM transmitter, which we're still currently working on, trying to make work here for some reason. And they do work, just Ricky has extreme issues with FPP. And then I get it with the BeagleBone Black already installed. I get it with the card already in it. So basically this sucker is set up and ready to go. So we're going to set this aside. Then the next item you're going to need will be 4 Meanwell power supplies. So before we open up this, let's get our Meanwells opened up. Let's start with this direction. So we're going to take our 4 Meanwells, and we're going to get these opened up. Throw our boxes away. So what we're going to do is, remember when you first get these, unless you get them from like Chris Ward or someone who actually flips these things, or Wired Watts who flips them before you get them. If you get them like I do just from wherever, you're going to have to flip these. Don't forget to put these on 115, unless you're planning on building these for another country, which we have done also. So, power supplies are set. Board is set. Now, our kit. Let's open this kit up and take a look at what comes in the kit. I do have my expert cameraman behind me who's supposed to be paying attention, so like if I get like off from screen or you guys can't see nothing, he's going to say, hey, just go right ahead and over here a little more. So in here, you get some pink foam, and you're going to get your box. So now here's the exciting part. We get to turn this into a working controller. So, just a quick look at the box. You're going to see that it's pre-drilled for a vent on this side. You're going to see that the bottom is CNC cut for all your glands and your powers. You flip on this side, you're going to see you have your 4 outputs for your board. You're going to have another vent, and you'll have your last Ethernet, which will be your primary Ethernet for coming in, because there's only 1 on these, unlike the Falcon that has 2. So let's open up the box and see what we get. White foam, because everyone needs white foam. And let's bring everything out and we'll kind of set it out and look at it, and then we'll start this build. So you get your pigtail labels, 1 through 32. You won't be needing those for a bit. You get 16 long pigtails. We currently are only selling them in X-Connect and in Raywu. If you need something different, you'll have to see one of the other vendors. But you'll need 16 of the long ones, which I don't know how long they are, but we can measure that. Set those aside, so we're not going to need those for a while. And you're going to need 16 short ones. Again, I'm building X-Connect currently. And then for all the fun stuff, so you got your 2 bud vents. So we're going to set those there because we're actually going to assemble the box before we start assembling the plates. You get 6 feet of red wire and 6 feet of black wire, although technically you only need 5 feet. Actually, you need like 4'8", but who's counting? So we're not going to need the wire for a bit. You're going to get 2 power cords in your kit. And you'll see that I've already prepped these power cords, and I'll show you a little more to do with these later, but this is so we can jump 2 power supplies with them. And they did stretch back a little bit. I'll show you how to open them up a little bit more. But we're not going to need power supplies for a little bit. Now, this little kit right here has our RJ45s, which we're going to need here in just a minute. It has our Ethernet cables. It has a ribbon cable, which will be very handy for the bottom of this. We'll show you what that's for. And like it does in zip ties, in that bag of goodies. This is your hardware bucket. It's going to have all your screws for your boards, for your power supply brackets, your wing nuts, your spacers. There's a whole pile of different size spacers, different size bolts, and we will go through all of those too. And the third one will be all of your glands. It's going to be your power supply stacking brackets, and I think it's all in that box. And then you're going to have your top plate. Actually, I guess we can open that up now. Let's make it look nice. Your top plate. I love peeling these. There's something satisfying about peeling these. I should like peel them all before I send them, but then you guys wouldn't have that satisfaction. You're getting to peel them. But, okay, so here's our top plate. You can see we do sink our controller in so it sits flat.
Yeah.
And Zach's telling me I need to come down more and like this more so you can see it. So that's that. We will be needing that here in a little while. I'll set that over here. And then here is our bottom plate. And there's not many holes in this, but we'll show you which lags go through there. And another cool thing about our plate is we have our patent pending square holes. So your lag bolts will set in the square holes. And actually that ain't really true either. They're not patent pending. It's just a square hole that now everyone else has seen that I made square holes. I'm sure they'll be making square holes as well. But just so you know, we made the square hole first. Unless James did. James may have made a square hole before us. It don't matter. Whatever. Okay, now our box is empty. So, let's build this controller. We've already been 45 minutes into this video, or it feels like it. And this light is a real big piece of crap. It shuts itself off. So we're going to start out with our box. Let's assemble our box. Now, what I like to do first is generally I'll start here, kind of work my way around. I do wait on this vent because this vent does hit the lid, so the lid's going to be kind of up in the air. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with our glands. Let's throw all the glands in this thing. Let's get that done. We'll put the vents in, and then I'll show you how I like to lay out my pass-throughs. So let's pull out these because we don't need those yet. And these. Now, in your bag here, I'm going to sit back down, and I think I'm still in the video. You're going to find a couple special ones. These are the bigger ones. The bigger ones obviously go in the bigger holes. So it's not rocket science here. What we're gonna do, we're gonna put the gland in. Like I said, we may or may not fast forward this. It depends on my editor, on whether or not he feels that you guys don't really need to, you know, see this part. Now, I've been watching a lot of YouTubes lately, and right now this is where I'd stop talking, and then we play this really annoying music over and over and over and over. Yeah, I guess I could sing to you. Like I said, I kind of babble a lot, and I never know how to start a video. It feels awkward. But generally, once I get into them, I try to keep them somewhat entertaining, so it's just not mundane madness of listening to. I don't even know. Kind of just lost my concentration there. I'm just doing my best. Doing my best to show you guys how I do this. And plus I figured it'd be a whole lot easier if I could just watch a video, if I was you, and be like, okay, so which step is he on? He's building this. And then, especially when we get into putting the spacers on the plates and stuff. See, if I keep talking, we're not going to be able to edit this. But although I think I'm going pretty quick on this, so it may not be too bad. Now, when we cut all the labels and stuff, the pigtails in, that's like, I get bored and I'm doing it. So, now I will say there's a couple of tricks too when we start putting these pigtails in. Some of these glands are small. It's just, I don't know why they're so inconsistent. Probably because they're so cheap and out of China. And then some of the pigtails are bigger than others. So I have a couple of tricks for some of that stuff. I'm hoping we're going to be able to just slide these through without taking them all apart. Because if we have to take them all apart, it's more boring video that you're going to have to suffer through. But again, you may not suffer through any of this if Zach just hits the old fast forward ×8 button on that sucker. Although I really wish I could have my fan. It's hot over here. Zach, maybe you could bump the air down a little bit, make it a little cooler in here, and turn the air conditioning fan on, like, not on turbo. I mean, I don't need to be blowing out of my seat or anything, but, you know, just, of course, I got pants on. That's probably not helpful either. But, I mean, I just figured you guys didn't want to see my legs. You know, I thought pants might be a good option for this build. I mean, some will appreciate it. How are we doing, Zach?
I don't know, I can't see the time.
No, I don't care about time. I mean, am I in like shot? Can they see what I'm doing?
Yeah, they can see exactly what you're doing.
Got my helper over there. He's a little camera shy. Now, I actually think in the kit the kits we're doing, I think I'm throwing like an extra gland or two in, so in case you break one or what have you. I knew this kit I was building here, so, you know, if basically I was short one, I would just, you know, reach in the gland bucket and get another one. So now they're all in. Now we got to tighten them all. Now this is what I use here. I got this handy 5/8 socket. And basically I just stuff it in there and just kind of hold the nut in the back. And just, I mean, you don't gotta go crazy. I mean, just snug them down a little bit. Some of them snug a little more better than others. And you can hold them with a pair of pliers if you want on the back, or get yourself a wrench, or what have you. I'm going to drag it over here. My hands just don't do well. Like that. Okay. Now I take this handy dandy a 19 millimeter right here, and I tighten up those two as well. And then I just want to go back through and just back these back off just a little bit. I tighten them up a little bit when my thing is, huh? That light's like the biggest piece of crap going. I mean, how does your mom make it work? It's her light. It's like it stays on 5 minutes and it's like, I'm tired. I'm just gonna go ahead and shut off for a minute. I just don't know. But anyways, now let's open up this vent. Now what's cool about this kit is we can assemble everything in the box before we put the tray in. Now some of my controllers are really tight and you can't do that. Like you can't put the vents in. Now I leave the rubber O-ring here. I've seen some people take it out. I've seen some people silicone them. I mean, I just leave it on there. I mean, it's a vent. Ultimately, if your water wants to get in, it's got to find its way in. But, I mean, as long as it don't like fill like to the brim with water, just a little water gets in maybe or something, and it just kind of goes here. I usually don't put the washers on these, so if I get a little moisture in the box, it can kind of seep around them a little bit. I mean, it's, again, I want the moisture out if we get a little moisture in it, so I just, you know, kind of tighten it up. Maybe I don't like that square plug. Well, it could be that. Exactly. Good chance. There's a chance I don't like that square plug or something. I don't know. Okay, let's throw the other pins. We're gonna close this. I'll flip the box around when we put the rest of the stuff on, so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Now, see how I said it hits the lid a little bit? I mean, it's not a real big deal, but it does hit a little bit. Okay, so now what we're going to need out of this box. So the ribbon cable we're not going to need for a bit. Zip ties. We're not going to need those for a little bit. Let's set those in here too. We're not going to need these for a bit, but we are going to want to install a couple of them before we set the tray all in, and I'll show you why we get ready for that. So let's dump the parts out for here. That thing's great, Zach. That thing's a real humdinger. I mean, a real humdinger. Let's turn this box around so you guys can actually kind of see what I'm doing here. So this gland we're going to put in here. See if I can do this backwards. I've never done it this way. This will be new. I put the washer on the outside. I've seen some people put it on the inside. Again, it's however you feel. What did you just do? That thing got bright, didn't it? Whew. Is it bright in the camera? I don't remember it being that bright a minute ago. I mean, that thing's like, wow. Maybe that little square plug sucked. There's a good chance in it. There's a good chance in it. Anyways, so this right here, I kind of put it like this. And I'll show you inside.
Yeah, they can't really see that.
They can't see what that?
No, just bring it up. Once you tighten it.
Oh yeah, we'll now I use, for these, I have an 11 16. Whew. It's a 1 1/16 socket. And I actually have a chuck, because when I do a ton, I just put it in my drill and go tighten. But just for this sake, I'll just snug it like that. And let's throw the other 4 in as well. And
you should probably show them up close here how to orientate here.
Yeah, I'm gonna yeah, we're gonna orientate. I'll show you.
No, the washers. How you stack them.
Washers?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure this ain't hard. They can, figure it out. It's not rocket science here. It's just some smart people. They can probably figure this out. I mean, the way I orientate these does kind of matter inside. These, I'm gonna kind of kick these off to the side a little bit. How I lay them out. And I do kind of lay, so this one, I do point it up like this, towards this one. So that one's pointed like that. The clip is, the clip up. But once you look inside, you'll understand what I'm doing. It'll make more sense to you why I'm doing this. Let's put this one. I've never done it backwards like this, Zach. It's kind of new for me. I think I'm doing well. Can you see it in the camera good?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
You can really do anything. You can tilt the box down toward the table some.
Well, I can't hold the box, tilt the box, tighten the box, put the nuts on, all in the same shot. So, I mean, we'll just do our best here. So.
Yeah, they can still see, kind of.
Yeah, they can see. So, now this one, I'm going to orientate towards this guy, like this. The reason why is inside, you're going to see how the cables kind of go, and they're going to go up through the middle once we're done. So that's why I orientate them like that. Now another thing too is my kit don't have the extra cap with the thing because a lot of people just throw them away anyways. So I just sell them just like this. What I do is I put dielectric grease. I fill these full the beginning of the season, and then I plug my cables in. So I'm not going to fill them for you because that's going to make a mess for testing and everything else like through the season. But before the season starts, you just fill them with dielectric grease, and then you plug your cable in, and I can promise you no water's going to get in those suckers. We're taking way too much time, Zach. I gotta stop. I gotta get moving. Stop distracting me over there. People are already like, God, he's only put the freaking glands in. We still gotta build a whole freaking controller. This one I orientate up, and then the second one will be up as well. So that's all 4 of these. I'm gonna leave them open because I leave them open until we test. Once we test, I close them up. So that's everything up. Like I said, orientate that way, up, up. And inside, what that basically does, you can kind of see them, is these are up. These are pointed straight up. This one's pointed in, this one's pointed in, because I'm going to run 2 cables right up the middle, and then this one's pointed up. And then when we actually put the tray in this, we're going to want to snap these 2 in there a little bit harder. You can put them in after, but you have to use a screwdriver and kind of push them. So what you may want to do, just so you don't forget, is just go ahead and grab 2 of your cables now, and just go right ahead and plug that one in. And plug that one in. I'm just going to throw them off the side, kind of like that. So that way when we actually set the tray in, you're going to see we got it going on. So we're done with the bottom, the box. Let's prep out the rest of the controller now. Let's do the fun part, because this part definitely fun. There you go, assistant. Please take care of that for me. Okay, so what we got to do first is we got to start out with our power supplies. And we're going to start out with our brackets, and we need our screw kits. So to start with, you're going to see that's your little to hang it on the wall kit right here. And then we're going to need this little screw kit here to assemble all this stuff. And then that's to put it on the tray, so we're just going to set this aside for now. Now, I use... pretty much use like these screwdrivers. These are kind of like my favorites. I actually have, what's the deal right here? Here's the kit I use right here. So this is a Hyper Tough from Walmart. They're like 10 bucks. They come with like 50,044 pieces or whatever. I mean, you can get some big ones, but that comes in there, and you've got, I use like 6 of the bits. So nice little kit. It's gonna do everything, because you're gonna see that all my stuff is not Phillips or straight. It's all Allen, all my screws. And just the ones that I like using. I think they tighten well. Although I did lie, I'm sorry. The screws to hook the board down to the thing is actually a Phillips, but everything else is good. So in your kit, you're gonna have these silver ones here with the Phillips. That's gonna hold the board down. So we're gonna set those aside. We don't need them until we're finished building to set the board in. And then you're going to find you have a bunch of little nylon spacers, and that's to put the board. Let's get this guy out of here. We're done with him. Let's get a knife out of here because we're done with that. And so here's your nylon spacers. Now you're going to find I also give a couple extra nylon spacers, and I'm going to give you a couple extra screws and nuts, so when you drop them in the carpet, you can still assemble your stuff. And then, so it's gonna kind of sort it. You're gonna have your nuts to hold the board down. And then you're gonna have the bolts for the board right here, which we'll be assembling here in just a little minute. And then all the rest of these screws, these black screws, are all the same size, and they're all for the power supplies. So, now speaking of power supplies, our brackets are really simple. As you can see that they have 3 holes on each side, 2 holes in the middle. If you flip it over, you're gonna see that 2 of the holes are recessed in like this, and we have this really cool arrow cut in, okay? So the arrow points to the front of the power supply, see, to the lugs. Here's the lugs right here. As you can see, lugs, flip it over. I don't know if you can see the arrow. You should be able to, but that's the arrow right here. Pointed towards the lugs. Lugs, arrow, up. So like that, okay? So, same with the bottom one. You're gonna do 2 of them on each power supply. Arrows towards the lugs. So that's the direction they go. Remember? Figure to make it easier with an arrow. Then you guys are gonna be like, which direction do they go? Do they go with the bolts to the front or to the back? The arrow towards the lugs, pointed forward. So you just put 2 of these on. Like I said, I use my little screwdriver. I don't know what size it is. 2.5. That's what it says on here. 2.5. I think we'll do, Zach, is we'll assemble all this stuff to the boards, and then we'll stick it together. So, yeah. There's one. Again, lugs, arrow up, arrow up. So I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for you guys building these. Now we have a, while I'm doing this, I can speak to you about some other stuff too. We actually have a K16 kit as well that uses these same brackets. It uses a little bit different. It's based off of our 32 output. On my 32 output. Ooh, wow, my brain's out there. Our 16-put Falcon setup. It's the same box. Uses the same brackets. Has the same square holes, the patented ones that we talked about earlier. It uses 2 power supplies. It's a really nice setup. I will do a video for that. I have 2 of those I'm going to build. So we'll be doing that. Just look. I really had to put the arrows on here so Zach knew which way they went. You know, he helps me every now and then. He can't ever remember which way it needs to go, so I figured, you know, we'd just go right ahead and put a couple arrows on it so he would remember. Now, we have just had a lot of people ask which direction they go. Although you can put them both directions for different applications. For this one, that's the direction they go. Okay, so power supplies are all prepped. We're gonna set them aside. Next, let's go ahead and build out our plate. Now, our plate, you really can't mess this up. It says CCL in it. So if you're trying to mount it this way where it's backwards LCC, then you pretty much know you're building it upside down. Or this way. I mean, that's kind of would work maybe like that. That would still be CC, but no, CCL. That's the front. So it's again, trying to make it easy for you guys. You'll have to take the FM transmitter off for this. You can kind of work around it, but I just prefer to take it off, set it aside so I don't break it. So our board uses 6 of the holes. It's going to use the 2 on the left over here and the 2 down here on the left. And then it's going to use the single hole above the battery. And it's going to use the single hole here in this corner. Okay? And then it's just going to sit down in here like this. And you can see the reason why we can't use those holes is because we just bolt them to nothing. Now this will stay on here. It don't need to be bolted through. It's you know, pretty rugged. A trick that I do on these is I like to give my little spacers just a little squeeze. Now, if you're using 4mm stuff for like the Falcon stuff, the spacers we use, you can actually squeeze them real good. These are a little thicker. So if you over squeeze them, you really gotta like get after them to get them to go on the bolt. But what's nice about it, if you squeeze them is they don't fall off as easy when you're trying to assemble it. Like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 4 top bolts in like this. Again, you can see my 4 top bolts maybe like that. I'm just going to kind of hold the bolt and slide the spacers on like that. See that one? I want to squeeze a little bit too much. Sometimes I get a little crazy when I'm squeezing. Try to squeeze one end. Now we're gonna grab 2 more bolts for this other side. One up here and one down here. And I'll show you the back side of this here in just a second. That one I didn't actually squeeze enough, but we'll be all right. And then that one is squeezed plenty, plus some. Okay, so we've gotten the bolts in. As you can see, we've put the spacers on the bolts. They're hanging through. We're going to assemble it to the plate. You just kind of, you can usually get it to drop right in. Might have to move these around just a little bit. For the most part, it should just drop right down in like that. See? So now we're going to go ahead and throw the nuts on these. Maybe. If I actually hold it with my finger. That was the one I told you I didn't tighten enough. Didn't squeeze enough. I do wish these were M4s. And on M3s, I like the bigger bolt because they have these big old honking thumbs. So, but, you know, it is what it is. We don't do a ton of these, so. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, you can see I got them all bolted down here, is I'm going to use the same wrench, that same 2.5 that I used before, I actually used for the same on these. And I'll just use my needle noses on the back just to hold it. I mean, we're not torquing down a small blockhead here. We're just snugging them. We don't need to, you know, they don't need 85 foot-pounds of torque. They're not torque to yield. You don't want, you know, just snug them up. That's all. I mean, it's just gonna sit in that box. That's all it's gonna do. Flip it over. So this is a lot harder to do it on video where you guys have to be able to see what I'm doing. I'm gonna hold stuff a little bit differently. So there, it's all bolted on. Now, as you can see, from bolting it on, we have some parts left over. Leftover parts are okay. I gave you extra bolts. See, a couple extra parts. We're just gonna go ahead and just set those off the side because we're not gonna need them. Just put them in your little kit, so if you ever need to build something else. So here is our board. Now, I like to do a little prep right now on the board while I can. For starters, I take all these out. I wish he didn't put those in. I wish this came in a bag because, again, my fat fingers don't do well getting these things out. So I just use needle noses. put these off the side. We're not gonna need those for a bit. Actually, I have some pre-unscrewed ones, so that we're not gonna completely bore you with unscrewing all these because they are tightened down, so you have to unscrew the 3 screws on each one of them. Generally, like I said, the Falcons, I get in there in a bag, and I give my wife the bag, and at night when she's watching TV, she has a little screwdriver, a little battery one, and just unscrews them all for me by the thousands. It's kind of her thing. So, yeah, let's get the green things out of our way. So now the green things are gone. Another thing too is you're gonna be 12 volt. There's a pin 12 and 5 volt on these boards, so make sure you're in 12 volt. Make sure your jumper's on to fire up the BBB. And then at this point, technically we can put the little transmitter back on. Now you do have to solder a wire for an antenna, and then you know, make it work. Again, we still haven't figured that one out. I don't know why, brain just don't seem to get it. Okay, so now this is done. Next step for this is this little cable that I'm sending with it. This is kind of important because you're gonna find that if you ever need to get that SD card on this back side, that's gonna be a real pain in the rear. So when you get your little cable from me, it already has predetermined double stick tape on it. So the gold part will obviously clip in first, and then it's just gonna run out like this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the card out that mine comes with, because again, I just ordered them from Dan, already done. And then I'm gonna put the card in this, as you can see, gold up, like that. So now I'm just gonna replace this. So I'm gonna peel back my tape because these don't really hold well. So what I found is on one I ended up pulling it out, and then I had to try to feed it back in there all built, and it was not fun. So now this double stick tape is good to go, but don't want to stick it yet. So what we want to do is do this here. So we're going to basically want to slide this sucker in here like this, and then push it like in clip. You can hear it clip. And you can kind of give it a little tug and see that it's in there. And then once it's in there, I just lightly push that down just like that. See, now the ribbon's like can't come out. It's all in there good. Life is good. So really now this part is prepped and ready. We're gonna stick this later, so just kind of stick it here out of your way. It's gonna flop around, but we're not worried about him right now. So set that aside, that board's done. Next on our to-do list is going to be assembling this plate. This is where most people get really confused because they get this whole bag and you dump it out on your table like this. And you're like, wow, he has tons of different size crap in here. So let's sort it real fast. You're going to have 4 really long bolts. You're going to have spacers everywhere. You're going to have 4 medium-sized bolts. Okay. And then you're going to have 2 short bolts. Okay. Spacers. You're going to have 2 long ones. You're going to have 4 short ones. So there should be 4 short ones in the pile. And let's find the 4. Now I've done this now. You can see the difference between the short ones and the long ones.
Right, I appreciate it.
That.
Yeah.
Okay, short and long. So there are 4 short ones, like that. And then there's like, I don't even know how many long ones. Let's move all these out of the way. It should be like 10 wing nuts. And there should be like 4, 8, 12. 12 of these long ones. Now, I'm going to tell you, I do hand cut these PVC cutter. Okay, so if you want to, you know, critique my cutting and say, oh God, he cuts them crooked, and I mean, that one's crooked. There's no doubt. That one's crooked. They're not all perfect. I mean, they are pretty freaking close, and I'm telling you, for what we're doing, I mean, that one is actually really crooked. I'm not sure how that one happened, but that one's really crooked. So some of my cuts ain't perfectly straight, but I'm telling you that that's not really going to matter. So if you stack all these up, you're going to see they're not all perfect. Some are a little crooked. Some may be a little short on those, but if it is, not much. It ain't like this one, which is like super short, because that's the 4th one. So now you have all your parts. 12 of those, 4 of those, 2 of those, 4 of those, 4 of those, 2 of those. We're gonna look at the plate, okay? So it's probably gonna be easier from the back side. And then once I lay it down, you'll see what they are. But we're gonna flip it over upside down, okay? Your 4 long ones go in the 4 top holes, okay? So we're gonna drop those in, 4 long ones. Like that. Now, as you can see, they fit in them square holes, patent pending. Now, I will say the longer bolts, for some reason, I don't know why, but the squares on them are smaller than the other ones. So they are a little bit loose in the square, but they tighten up real well when you have to use them, when you tighten them down. Okay. I'm sorry, I got distracted. So now we have the medium size, okay? You're gonna do a medium here and a medium here. Then you're gonna skip and you're gonna go 2 smalls. So a small one, and then you're gonna go back to the 2 mediums. Medium, medium, like that. Now these do fit really well in these square pockets. You can see how they just, the pockets are like perfect for these. Those were under molded, I guess, the squares. I'm not sure why. It ain't the cuts, their cuts are all the same. But for some reason, you know, the lag bolts just vary a little bit. You know, they're not super expensive. So it just is what it is. But as you can see, these all just push right in real nice and, you know, clean. These are just a little bit loose, but I mean, it don't matter. Once you flip it over, as long as they're down, you're good. So then you just flip it over. And if they're a little bit off like this, you can always just twist them a little bit. You can feel them, they clip in. So from the top, you can see long, long, medium, short, medium. So that's the layout, okay? Now, first power supply. We want this first power supply all the way ahead on the back side. So we're gonna use the back holes for him, okay? So I always face my lugs to my left. So I'm gonna put this on this one, back hole, back hole, back hole, back hole, okay? So we just did all the back holes. Now, you're gonna do 4 of these medium spacers, the ones you have the most of, okay? These are 1.5 inches. This is kind of important too. I kind of want to make note of. The way these brackets, I designed these brackets back 2 years ago for stacking when I first started stacking the 22s and the 26s. Was when we originally cut these. Actually, we originally just printed these. We actually had Daryl printing them for us because we didn't even have our own printer when we first started this company. So Daryl was printing them and we were building controllers. Later on down the road, we got Ken to cut them for us. He was cutting them. It's the ones that he currently sells. And then we continued to print them. And then once we got our own CNC, we started cutting them ourselves. So a little history on these little brackets. I mean, they're not, you know, real rocket science, but again, we developed them, like I said, 2 years ago for all of our stuff. And they work well. I mean, a lot of you already have them. Again, if you bought kits from Ken, you have my brackets. They work really well. So, but now to get back on where I was saying it's important, is where this thing's so big, when you stack it down over, it lays right here, as you can see over this fan. So if you're using the shorter ones here, it's gonna put this down too low, and it's almost gonna set it on top of that. And you just don't got a lot of clearance here for that fan. So by using the taller ones, it gives you a lot, and I'll show you in the camera how much space it does. So you want to make sure you're using the longer ones to make this happen, because you really want that air space underneath these power supplies. So now we're going in the middle hole on that one, and again, you know, just like that. Now we're going to use 4 more of the medium ones, because again, we want that space. Now on this one, we're going in the front holes like this. Because what we're doing is we're gradual stacking them up like this, so that way we can put all the screws in them. I mean all the screws, not screws, put all the wires on them down this side easily. So now unstacked, we're gonna grab the 4 short ones. The reason why we're using the short ones is because the tall ones, as you can see if we actually put them on, they're taller than the threads. And this box is really tight, so if we went any taller than what I already have it here, your lid won't shut. And so that's why, I mean, this is like maximum. You know, you're gonna get the most air space with this configuration. The box will close and all that. So that's the stack. So it's going to be long, long, short to make that happen. Then you get your wing nuts. Okay. And as you can see, mine are all kind of like, we can kind of straighten that out a little bit. Don't get all like, ooh, you know, again, you know, it's, some of this stuff's still hand done and not machine done, so it's not going to be completely perfect. Now, if these drive you insane, you can twist them a little bit, okay? If you twist them, you kind of get the angle a little straighter on them. You can kind of straighten them out and they look a little better if it just absolutely drives you nuts. Now I can tell you, once we build all this up and put all the wiring in here, you're going to see like these. That's it when we're done. So it's, you know, it's not really a big showstopper if that's really driving you nuts. But then just turn these down. Again, we're not cranking them down, so we rip them up through the plate. Just snug them down. As you can see, I mean, I barely have the bolt come up through them. But all this will clear your lid. Okay, so the back stack's done. So now let's move to the front stack. The front stack, again, is going to use the back holes with the lugs to the front, the back holes. We want the bottom two to line up. So we're going to go with the back holes here and here, okay? And now we're actually going to go on the two shorter ones here and here. Now, you might ask why I have all this. Is because the way I set all my stuff, it's just easier. So we're actually going to bolt all this down. So then technically this is free from your other plates, kind of, you know, different idea I had. So we're going to use the 4 longer ones. Now I know we use the shorter ones here, but again, what I'm trying to achieve here is I'm trying to achieve clearance for your fans to your plate. Because once we stick this sucker on top, down here, we're going to be, you know, right up on top of all this. So I really, you know, leaving the space, I went with that. I mean, technically, I could probably even go a little bit more, but there's plenty of clearance here because we're actually going to set on top of these two. So we put the last 4 medium size right here. They're the 1.5 inches, so you can tell they're taller than these right here. Now we're going to take wing nuts and we're going to wing nut this one down too. Okay. Again, we don't need to over torque these, just snug them down. That. And then we're going to do it on the short ones here. I'm kind of a stickler for like keeping them all the same direction. It's like when I put out what's on and stuff. I don't want to just do that. It's just one thing. And again, you might find that like these are a little crooked because again, I cut them by hand and I'm not perfect. So just straighten it out a little bit if you need to. It's not like a showstopper. But now, so now the thing is assembled. As you can see, all this stays together. I mean, these two are just sitting in here. But I do want to show you the space. Can you see that in there? Is that pretty good? You can kind of see how much space we have in here. Now, if I was using the shorter spacers, that sucker would be sitting almost right on top of that fan. It's too close. It's too close. And you see we have a nice stagger down through here, so we can hook everything up. That's kind of what it looks like this direction, like that. And the reason, again, I'm doing a video, that way you can rewind this, fast forward this, whatever you need to do to make this better for you. Because again, we're going to have to wire this next and then put it all in. There's still quite a bit here to do. It'll go pretty quick though. So now we're going to be able to assemble our top tray. And then we'll start wiring. So again, this guy just going to float around, but where it's hooked, it's fine. So now the last 2 spacers, the long ones. The 2 long spacers go here and here. And these are the same height as this and this. So basically, it sits on top of these wing nuts, and it's the same height here. And it allows lots of clearance underneath here. I mean, I can put my hand between the BBB and the power supply. There's so much room. So now that that's on, we'll take the wing nuts, the last 4 wing nuts we have, and snug that one down. Snug that one down. I think I shorted 2 wing nuts. See, that's why I'm doing this before I send out the kit. I do have a bucket of them. Put those 2 over there, because I'm going to shorten it. We're going to shorten that kit right there. I'm actually sending a kit out. And before I sent the kit out, I wanted to build it because I wanted to make sure that I included everything we needed. And I didn't miss 2 wing nuts. Okay. Good thing we're doing this side. Okay. We try to account for everything, but just like that. Okay. So now, as you can see, we got tons of space in there for all that. It's sitting on top of all this, sitting on this, so it's nice and rugged. Another thing too is we've spaced ours apart. So as you can see, there's a lot of room right in here too for when we start wiring, because we're going to have to wire all this stuff around. So we've done some work on the plate to allow. It does make it a little bit tighter in the front. You'll see we're going to need these guys to pull some wires through. But overall, it makes all this wiring, a whole lot nicer. Okay. So now that this part's done, again, this is kind of in our way, we're going to wire this sucker. So now what we need to do is we need to get rid of him. I don't need him anymore. We're going to need, as you see, we've pretty much used up like that whole pile. We're going to still need these screws. We put the plate in. We'll need these here in a little while. We're going to need the wire next. These guys are not screwed on, so here, so I'm going to mix up. Okay, so we got our red and our black wire. So we're going to wire this. I'll show you how I wired it. And this is how I kind of figured on it being wired. So you guys can wire it the same way. It's probably going to be the easiest to do it the same way. Because again, that's kind of how I accounted for the wire. So you're going to have your wire. Now I'm going to leave it full length. Now, here's our ground voltage ground, just like a Falcon. So we're actually going to start with the ground on this one. And I kind of stretch out my wires. I'm hoping you're going to be able to see this. Now, I use different strippers. I use these strippers right here. I like these for some applications. I like these strippers for other applications. And then I like these strippers as well. So it really depends on what I'm doing, what strippers I use. I have, like I said, 3 different ones. But for 10 gauge, these suckers, these Kleins work well. So I'm going to take this, again, I have the full length wire because I'm just going to work post for post. And, I'm going to strip back probably, about like that much right there. Now, these compared to Falcons is I could just shove this through a Falcon, tighten up the screw, and be done with it. These have the screw terminal, so I can't. So again, I have my handy screwdriver here. I use the great big flat one because that one works really well for the Falcon stuff. So it also works good for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to take this and shove it in here, and I'm going to fork that wire.
No, here, over. I can't. Yeah.
Like that. I'm going to fork the wires. I'm going to do that on everything. I'm going to fork every wire just like that. So it goes around the screw and tightens down well. Now I am going to use my screw gun. I use a Makita. These are really awesome. It's like a Milwaukee Makita, same thing. It's a small one, but it has the little quick, thing. What I like about this gun is it has torque settings on it. So you don't over torque stuff. Okay, it's like the board, I don't want it on screw, I want it, like on 6. I don't want it to crank these down too much. So basically, and I use just a small bit, and I'm gonna try to do this so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing the best I can on how I do these. Now, I am going to retorque these down with a screwdriver, only because it's on a board. I do it with the Falcons as well. So I just use the screw gun to just snug these on the boards. No, power splies, you can crank them down on like an 8 and it won't hurt power splies, but on these suckers, you don't want to take this lug and twist it right off the board. So I just snug it, and then what we're going to do afterwards is we're just going to take our needle nose pliers, we're going to hold this lug kind of like this, and then I'm going to get my Phillips screwdriver like this, and I'm just going to snug it down, and with the holding the lug with my thing, I know I'm not going to twist this lug out and blow it out. So again, that's something that I do. It's probably something you guys should consider doing too. You don't want to destroy your brand new board. might get a little quiet here because when I'm wiring, I got to think a little. Because I don't really have to think much. I've done a few of these now, but I'm doing them at really weird angles so you guys can see what I'm doing. So it's a little more difficult. And again, I did not over torque that, as you guys can see. Let's go right ahead and normally what I'll do is I'll just do them all at one shot. So I'll go back behind and tighten them all after. But you can see those are nice and tight. So now we're gonna take these two wires. I use my needle noses like this because I want to bend these down over to this first power supply. So again, I'm going to hold this, and then what I do is I just bend the wires down like that. Bend the wires down like that. Okay, that gives me my nice little 90-degree angle. And then I'm going to have to move this a little bit around because I've got to be able to bend them. And then generally what I'll do is I'll do something like this, and I'll bend the wires like that. And again, I've been doing this for a while, so for me, bending them like this is pretty common. I'm gonna wrap that one up underneath, and then I'm gonna grab these two here. And again, this is just wiring, so you guys can do it however you want. I'm gonna tuck that under here for now because it's in my way. So this first one's going to this first power supply. It's going to this one. So as you can see, I just kind of came down with them like this. We're gonna zip tie all this nice and clean up to here when we're done. And then I'm just going to cut these off. Again, I usually cut so that's a negative, and then that's the positive. Okay. So we're going to keep moving. We're not going to worry about tying all that in until after. Let's get the board done first. Okay. Again, don't over torque those. In the same way that I bent the last ones, I'm going to bend these down same way. So normally I can work off my table, so it's a little, I don't know if I'm in the shot or not, but
there you are.
So I can just kind of drink them down, and then I want them pretty close to right here, so I want to bend it together, and I want to come across like this, and I want them nice and straight like that. So I want to grab them probably right about here with these other ones. Again, I can do them two at a time. You probably can't, unless you've been doing this for a while. It does get, it can get a little tricky. So you can see I've come down with this set. I've come across, and this set's going to come over here like this. Now you see, when I square them up like this, I got them coming across, and I'm squaring them across. What I normally do is I cut the ground at like the first positive lug, and I cut the positive at like the adjuster screw. And once we bend them in and do that part, it seems to land them pretty close. So, at least for me, I found this work again for me. So this one's going to this first one right here. This one's going to this bottom one, and when we power them up, we'll be powering these two together up on one cord, and then we'll be powering these two up on one cord. So if you plug in one cord, it'll actually power up this bottom part of the board, and then the second one will do the second part of the board. Okay, so these two are going to go right to this guy, nice and short. Now these I am going to do a little bit different because they're in here. I can't bend them after. So I'm going to do these solo, not together. And that one I cut stripped way too long. We'll just trim them back a little bit, like that. Okay, so these, what I'm going to do is, because I want to lug them in right here, is I'm just going to take them about right here and just give them a 90-degree angle like that. We're going to start with the black. Kind of straighten the wire out here. And I'm going to have to get up here so I can be able to see. Sometimes it actually works to take the screw right out. You just lay the wire in there and then put this between the two forks, unless your tip ain't as magnetized as it used to be. Oops. Put it in forward, that helps. Another thing too is I keep this little magnet here, so my tip kind of loses this magnetism. I can just give it a little. Now my tip's back to being magnetic again. When you watch this video, you're gonna learn all kinds of cool stuff. Again, forking my wires. Speaking of forking, I wonder if Alicia is making dinner yet. I told her like 6:30-ish or so. Dinner will be pretty handy. I better hurry up build this. Dinner's gonna be done soon. Yeah, not over tightening. So basically I just put them two on. You can see the 90s. I don't know if you can or not, but the 90s coming across to here. And I'm gonna do the same thing. Now that they're both on, I'm actually gonna bend both of mine together. But you can bend them one at a time. You don't have to bend them twice, two together. Again, I've built thousands of controllers. So for me, this is kind of second nature. That's why I was actually trying to do a video versus just giving you instructions. Because I was hoping that maybe with a video, you could kind of follow along, fast forward, rewind, do whatever. Now let's hook the last ones on the board. And then we're going to do the same thing because it's way back here. I'm just going to go ahead and put the 90 on these so I don't have to deal with it in there. And this one's going to get the red first because of the order of how the board lays out. Go ahead and fork this one like that. So now these two are coming across. They're actually going to bend the same. I'm actually going to run them so like these. What I've been doing these, I just kind of give them a little bend up like that. So I'm already hitting the supply. These are going to zip tie together. Again, we don't need to rocket science this thing. Get my 90 here, and then hold them, and then cut them. Okay, so that's all we need. Like I told you, I'll give you extra. There's, you know, a good foot here, a little over a foot here. You can save this. That'll build. I mean, who knows? It'll build something. So I'm gonna put it in my use later pile. Okay. So now the controller is all wired per se. Don't worry about the mess. We'll deal with that here in a minute. Go ahead and take your screwdriver now before you forget, and you know, tighten these. Take a second here. Hold these however you want to hold them. I mean, you can hold them like this. I mean, whatever works for you. Just make sure that these are tight. You don't want them loose. But you don't want to also, you know, break the board. Again, it's all about not breaking the board. Just snug them down. You know that guy's done. Okay. So, we're done with all this piece. Now what we're going to do is finish bending these in, hooking them into the power supplies. Now, the board, all the grounds are connected together, so I don't need to jump the power supplies with the grounds on this one. I only do that on like Falcons where you're doing expansion boards across, or if I'm doing power distro boards in the controller, I'll hook the negative to the negative to the negative to the negative. But in the board, they're actually, you know, all bridged in together, so I don't tie them together on these. So what we do is take our stripper now, is run back behind and re-strip all these on this end, because again, we already cut our lengths, we know what they need to be. Try and hit Zach with them, but I don't think I'm getting the right angle. Almost got him with that one. Nope, still didn't get him. I gotta sweep these up off the floor. I don't usually send them on the floor. I usually catch them in my hand. But, you know, I figured more special effects. I mean, it's pretty wild, right? We could do like 3D and be like that, maybe. I mean, you know, go ahead and just like that. Or maybe not, whatever. never mind. Back to building. Okay, so now basically I'm going to take my thing and I'm going to 90 all these back in like this. Again, I'll show you all this in a second. Just let me do it first, because it's going to be a whole lot easier for me just to do it and then show you after. Again, I know where they're going. We've already measured them. We already know their length. We just need them to hit the power supplies now. So, you can see I 90 them, so that way when they come on the power supplies, we can hit them there. So now I'm going to run back through with my screwdriver, and I'm going to split them all. I'm going to get them all V'd open. We're going to hook these on, and then once this is done, we're going to be able to put this in the box. And go to our next step. So yeah, I'm gonna hurry and get this done. Getting hungry. I might start eating some gummy bears here in a minute. Or some runts. I love runts. I eat a lot of runts. On Amazon you can buy them in like a 5-pound bag. I wish I sold just the hearts, because the hearts are like the best. I know some people like the bananas. I kind of like the hearts. Sorry, off target again. It happens. So I'm going to start here. Now, I want these wires to kind of be squared up and look good. So you can kind of lay them where they need to go. Sometimes if you bend them early, it might be on the first one. If you bend them late, it might be on the third one. It just kind of, how does it lay in here? So and it does vary. Sometimes I'll do one and it's like it's on the first one, sometimes it's on the third one. And I'm like, all the wires are the same size. This makes zero sense. I don't even know how that happened. Again, they're forked. You can do that. So now we just hook that one in, and we're just going to kind of work our way through these, you know, so they all look right. And then we're going to go back through and clean them all up. And again, a lot of times I just pull the screw right off. I'll set that right back down on top. And then even if they're a little bit long, like I said, I have a little bit of wire hanging out. Once you bend them down, you know, you can clean them up, make them look a little nicer. We do have to have that screw clear, so be sure, you know, that hole, we're going to need that to screw the panel down. So don't block him when you're doing your whole setup here. No, those are going to have to go down there. But we want this to kind of follow. Sometimes you got to run your hand down, straighten these wires out a little bit. Clean it up a little bit. And they'll lay right nice and straight for you. Well, on this one, I kind of want the black, you know, I want all these in the corner nice. So wherever that lands me over here, which is the middle for the V plus on this one. Again, you don't have to wire it like me, but that's how much wire I gave you, is to do this. So if you know, go crazy, you might have not enough, or I mean, heck, you might even get it better. You might be able to wire the whole thing with less wire. So again, I kind of just bend them down like that, and you can see we got them all nice and clean right here. I mean, they're just, I mean, that's just nice. You know, that's just nice. That'll be nice and clean when we finish that up. When we dress that out, it'll really look good. And I'm not really looking forward to the pigtail part. I don't mind the pigtails. That's my least favorite part. Yeah, we're going to kind of lay that one over top, dress that one down, make it look a little nicer. Let's see where that one's going to lay. Sorry, I've been quiet. Get them wiring. Sometimes I'm not used to talking while I'm doing this. I'm gonna have like YouTube going or something. But you can see this kind of laid in pretty nice. I kind of pushed them all down. We're a little high over here, but we'll hook that down like that. We'll probably throw a quick zip tie on this guy here. We're gonna have running cords across here anyways. So let's go ahead and just throw a zip tie on this guy for. Kind of tighten them down like that. And then I'm gonna go ahead and zip tie this corner back and then pull these tight here. We're gonna put power cords through here, so we're gonna end up with another zip tie in this area, but for right now, so you guys kind of see it neater. Normally I'll do all this in one big shot, but we're kind of trying to show you guys what we do here. Now I'm gonna zip tie back here. I'm gonna give you like a dozen zip ties, but I'm sure when you're in the hobby, you're gonna have thousands of them anyway. And if you don't have thousands of them, you're gonna need thousands of them. I'm just telling you. I usually buy them by the 10,000 pack box. Seems to work pretty well for us. So, see, it's pretty decent. Sometimes you just gotta work the wires in. Now, I know I'm gonna be running power cables here, so we're gonna zip tie all that together with power here in a minute. So I'm not gonna get too awful crazy. Again, I'm just trying to neaten it up so you guys can kind of see what it should look more like. Before I put the power in, we set it in. It's gonna get a little tight in that box here in a minute. So as you can see, I mean, it's all pretty neat. This right side is going to the top one. This guy here is going to the middle one. The right over here is going to this bottom one, and this guy's going here. And again, we found a zip tie that one back. You know, kind of zip tie all that back. Zip tie it through here. You know, trying to keep it pretty nice through here as much as we can. Again, we're gonna have power cord come from here to here, and then we'll have one from here to here. We'll zip tie all that in together, and then we'll sink this sucker in, and we'll be done with it. So now what we need to do, actually, is we're gonna push this back here out of our way. We're gonna need a few of these tools. I'm gonna move this crap back so we have room to work here. Now I need my box assistant. Here's our box. Now what we're gonna do is run our powers through and hook our powers up. So I need the two power wires. Whatever I did with those. Right. Okay. So let's feed the power wires through these glands right here. Pull them right through. So this is the top one. We're going to deal with him second. I'm doing the bottom one right now. So as you see, I had them pre-stripped like this. Now these have actually kind of shrunk back a little bit. So what I'm going to do is wrap them around the screw on the first one and then run them to the second one. So all you have to do really, you just take your hand. You can see I can stretch them back. Just kind of pull them a little bit. And they'll really separate. And just kind of pull down like that. Now you can see I got a nice section here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to take it and coil it in half like this. Bend it in half. It's in a loop. I'm going to take the positive off. I'm going to stick my screw through it. And then I'm going to retighten it back down. And the screws, you see it's touching all copper. It's making a really good clean connection, but I do have to do it like this because I gotta be able to see. Okay. And we'll move that wire out of our way. And let's move to the white one. Same thing. Bend it in half. And then third would be your ground, the green one. Okay, so I have 3 wires here, okay? this is all hooked in here. We're gonna zip tie this here. Like I said, we didn't really need a zip tie yet because we're gonna zip tie it here anyways. And then we're gonna run these 3 up here like this, and we're gonna tie them to this one right here, okay? So they are a little long, so you can trim them if you'd like. You can cut them back just a little bit. Don't cut them too short because you know you don't have like one shot at this. And if they're too short, then you have to go get some wire and lengthen everything out. That sucks. So I just trim them a little bit. I don't care if there's a little loop here. It don't bother me any. And then just go ahead and strip them up. Some people like to put the little horseshoe, whatever they're called, I can't remember what they're spades on here. Okay, so now a spade would be good on this. I have no problem using a spade for this part. But if you're going to use a spade, solder your spade to the wire. Okay? The reason why I say that is because this has a really good mechanical connection. These are made to just put a wire on and tighten down, and it grabs. There's little pins on the bottom of these to grab these. Okay? So if I just put the wire in, it's going to make a really good, nice mechanical connection on that. If you're going to put a spade on it, now you're going to crimp a spade on it, and that's going to make you a mechanical connection between here and the spade. And then you're going to put that through, and now you're going to make a second mechanical connection here. So you're basically making 2 mechanical connections, which could technically cause more heat if you don't get this one crimped tight enough, or you don't get that one crimped tight enough. So if you solder it on, now you're still only making 1 connection versus 2, or just leave them off like I do. I mean, just leave them off. You don't need them. I mean, if you actually take your screw out and look, there's like teeth here to grab that wire. And if you look, there's actually like, it's kind of like little lines on that half to help grab the wire. So, I mean, it's going to make a connection. No doubt it's going to make a connection. Okay, so now you see our bottom hole went to these bottom 2. Now let's grab our top wire. Okay, and again, I've already had them stripped for you, so you just pull them apart a little bit more if you need to. Like that. This one's going to go to the middle one. So, same thing. Fold it in half. Come on, Ricky.
Later.
Oh, for me later. Actually, I don't need that for this one.
Yeah.
No, I don't. So, those 3. And then I just loop this around like this, kind of leave me on a loop here. On these where you can cut a little shorter, because I don't want all this wire hanging out here. So I just do a loop, about like that. And then I'll, cut them off like that. Except for that one didn't cut all the way, because I'd have it in the thing. And then I'm gonna strip it. Okay, same thing. Okay, so that's all that part. I'm not gonna need him.
So they can see.
Huh?
Here, how you set them with this.
So now what we're going to want to do is zip tie these. So again, you kind of want to, you want to make it look decent. So I'm going to just kind of do something like this. Grab all these wires here, like that. And dress that up underneath. It's coming through like this. I am going to clip this guy because I don't want to stack two zip ties on top of each other. Like this. I know that this guy I want on the top because he's the top one. I can still get to my screw. So we're good there. This all looks pretty nice. Straight, nice and clean. Just like that. Okay. So all that back. Now normally I don't plug these in until after I put them in the box. But Zach's thinking that I should probably do it before, so you can see this step. So I guess I will. I guess I will need the splitter then.
I figured you'd do them one at a time.
No, just do them. Fire this thing up. So technically, we can fire it up now. Again, you want to make sure your controller is in 12 volt here, and
voltage.
And then we've already flipped all the switches. Technically, we should be able to fire this sucker up and get lights. And as you can see, we have all the lights here, all the lights here. Our beagle is lit, and you can see it's lighting up. I don't know if you can or not, but it is blinking. Mm-hmm. The screen should come up in a minute. It's a good time to dig this guy out because we don't need him buried. Okay, so it's coming up with Kulp. So while that's all happening, grab your meter, okay? And probably not gonna be able to see this, but we can just tell you about it. How's that?
Yeah, there's no way to see that.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna touch this on this lugs here, okay? Grab my screwdriver, and I'm going to turn the little screw and set these all to 12 volts. So like this one's at 12.14. Okay, and then I'm gonna move on to this guy here. So I usually do this in the box. You can reach all this in the box. But just for you guys seeing everything come up. Okay. Here's the next one. And then the last one. But I guess if you do it here, you'll know everything's wired right before you put it all in. I always try to do this before I put all the pigtails in. And they're all set to, I'd set them all at about 11.9998. That's pretty much where I set them at. So they're all set. Now I am gonna wait for this thing to finish booting. And now it is. It says no network, idle. So since I know it's completely booted, I can shut it back down.
Shut it down. You can shut it down from the screen.
Or I can just unplug it. Okay, so we know it all worked, so that's going to save us that. So now we're going to have to set this thing in here. So again, here it all looks, it's all together. You see lots of clearance, all the wires are nice and neat.
They can't see it all.
Wires are nice and neat down through here. Leave that, flip it out of our way. We've dressed all this in. We've got plenty of power supply, air. The whole thing's good. So now we're going to set it in the box and move your two wires. Just kind of pull them up out of the way. You can kind of tuck them underneath the lid like that. Okay. And then we're just going to set this down here like this. Like we just set it down. I usually just set it down a little easier now. Pull our cords out through the bottom like this. And slide it around until the holes line up. I'm gonna screw it down. Now I have this really cool long bit here that I use, but you can use a regular screwdriver for this. And of course this one's not magnetized very well either anymore. So I'll just go ahead and put that on there. Now my screws will hold on to my gun. And I'm using the Phillips ones that came in your kit. The only ones that's a little bit tricky is this guy here. So sometimes you gotta move them little power cables out of the way and get it. And then there's two at the top. Like that. And as you can see, I'm going to kind of move these powers up. You can see the Ethernet's coming up right up through the middle here. There's enough clearance. If you look down in there, I mean, it's tight down through here, but there's plenty of room for that. Leave this guy up out of your way. So basically, here's all your clearance. Again, it's a little snug here. When we start wrapping these wires through, you're going to see it's going to be kind of a little bit tricky on the bottom row. But once they're wrapped up in here, it's really clean and easy. So now we're going to start that process. So again, these two, let's just leave them up here out of the way. We don't need these in our way right now. So we're just going to leave them thrown up here. The powers, now we can pull those tight. So we know that's good. And we can snug these two glands down. And we can sling these up out of our way, like that, okay? That's out of our way. Everything's out of our way. Now we got this guy here. So he's actually gonna mount, like right here. And I just run him basically right here. Because these wires are gonna come through on this side and around, but it'll be low enough and you can still get to it. So now's a good time to actually mount your little card reader. I mean, you could technically put it here if you wanted. I just put it there. So that's a preference thing of where you want to put it. Pull back the double stick tape. Tape it down. So it's right here. It's off to the side. It's not in the way. So we're good with all that. Now for the fun part. So now we successfully put our controller in the box. Everything fit. Now we're going to move on to the pigtails. I'm going to talk about how I wire mine. Okay. I like to split them. So basically, I don't crisscross a bunch of wires back here. So when I lay them out, I actually lay them out like this. So it's going to actually go 1, 2, 3.
Oh, they can't see.
Ooh.
At all.
Better?
Yes.
It's actually going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Those first 16 will be the shorter pigtails because they're going to go right to the front right here. The way I lay out our boards, which we'll look at in a second. Then I start over and I go 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. That's how I always lay them out. I do that on every board. That way, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, these 8 will end up going this way in the box. They're going to come out of the box here, and these bottom 4 are going to go here because it's the board's laid out like this on this one where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to 16. So these top ones are just going to lay over nice and clean. But I want these first 8 of 17, 18, 19, 20 here because it goes, this board is 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24. So if I put them in order, I would have to crisscross a bunch of wires in here, or it'd be crisscrossy. This way, those 8 can literally lay right up around here, lay here. The last 8 will come right around here and lay in here. It'll all be nice and clean. So that's how I lay mine out. And again, I can go over that again, but I just stagger them. Again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 down through the first 2 rows, and I start over 17, 18, 19, 20. I do that on my 48s. They would start 33, 34, 35, 36. I do the same thing on all my controllers. So now what we're going to start with is we're going to start with the longer pigtails, okay? Because we want to put the long ones in first because they're down bottom and they're more of a pain. We're going to have to try to feed them up around. So if we put these in next, we can get all these in, terminated, we can dress all this in, then we put our top ones in and they just go over the top. So we're gonna wanna grab our 17 through 32, okay? Move this out of our way. Get back in my handy dandy chair here. And this more than likely will be fast forwarded just a whisker.
I show them that. There's a line there.
Oh yeah, there's like a little dotted line that says cut.
No.
Don't cut on the line, cut on the where it says cut. Is that what you wanted, Zach?
No, I wanted you to like show it up here so they can actually see the thing.
They'll see them when they get them.
Yeah.
Being too technical here. These are just heat shrinks, which we will heat up first. Now I did find with these heat shrinks, and I know Ken has them, there's a few others that sell them as well. The trick is when you slide them on, and you go to heat shrink them later, heat them from the back side, the not printed side, and it pulls them like that, and the numbers stay big. If you heat them from the front, it shrinks the numbers up. So just a little trick. Now we put ours with the reindeer going down. Just what we do. I mean, you don't even have to use these if you don't want. We're gonna send them with them. So what I'll normally do is I'm just gonna take a minute here and I'm just gonna throw all these on. That's what I normally do. Reindeer down. So I'm hoping these slide through without having to take them apart. We're gonna find out.
If they don't, definitely be fast forwarded.
Yeah, if they don't slide through, we'll be doing some fast forwarding because that's gonna be horrible. Like I said, sometimes they don't go through here well and they hit the rubbers catch for some reason. So I've had some pigtails where you actually take the rubber out of there because the pigtails are so big. The wire's so big, you just take the rubber out because there's no way to use it. And they tighten up fine. I mean, again, you're tightening against rubber. So, I mean, it don't matter if the rubber's in there or not. It's as long as they tighten up. That's the key is the tightening. So you can always take the rubber out if your wires are really big. I've seen some that way. I've gotten some that way. Just varies. It seems like all suppliers are different, and sometimes you get different batches. I mean, again, a lot of inconsistency out of China. This really don't take that long. And the other thing too is we don't actually heat shrink these on. We don't heat them until we're done testing. Occasionally, it's rare we get a bad pigtail, but if you get a bad pigtail, you got to pull it out. You haven't wasted the heat shrink. That's why we don't heat them first. Plus, and we also kind of all straighten them all out after. So they're kind of all facing the front when we actually heat shrink them. I probably won't heat shrink them on this video because it's loud and noisy. It's like I'm not gonna test the whole controller on the video either. But I do test every controller that leaves our shop. Every pigtail has had a count of pixels plugged into them. The Ethernets have all been plugged into our Ethernet router, so we know it gets an IP address, and every receiver port gets a receiver plugged into it with pixels plugged into it as well. That way we know when we send it to you, unless something happens in the mail, and it does, sometimes these things get roughed up a bit, but it takes a lot, or something gets loose. And I mean, I can say it's a handful of times. I'm trying to get this a little right. We got kind of like a whole menagerie of stuff going. Plus, I got to be able to see the numbers. You can do it any way you want. I usually kind of lay them out so I can kind of see the numbers. I kind of have my own little order of doing them. Zach has his own way of doing them. It really just... What I like to do is I like starting on the bottom. I'm like getting my bottom row in, and then I move up to my top row. So I know that, again, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. So odds are on the top row. Odds is going to be on the third row. So it's going to be evens on the bottom. So I know that's 17, obviously being that's 16. It's 17, so that's going to be 18. So I'm going to be doing 18, and then it's going to go 18, 20, blah, 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 through here. I mean, you guys know how to do it. That's how to count. So again, we've loosened these up. I'm hoping that they go through decently. So they may or they may not. These are tight. The other thing too is I usually get my needle nose in here, and sometimes that helps me pull them through. Because it is tight down in this hole. So sometimes if you just take the needle noses, I mean, don't like rip on the wires, but until you can get them out so your hands can get on it, like this. And then you can just pull them through. Now I do pull mine all the way out like this, so it's out. That's 26. I want 20. And sometimes it's easier just to pull them apart and pull the rubbers and put the rubbers on. Like I said, it varies on the pigtail. These are kind of going in now, so if you wiggle them. But again, it's kind of tight in there, so you got to kind of work them so you can get your fingers on them. Because as you can see in here, there's not a lot of room right here. So sometimes you just have to use your needle noses, but once they all lay in here, you don't need a lot of room. Well, I was showing them, there's not a lot of room here. But there's enough. Nice thing is the higher up you go, the easier to get. Obviously. Sometimes you give them a little twist. Again, once they pop through, because my hand's so big, I kind of just grab them like that. See how I'm kind of just grabbing the rubber? I'm not gripping them bad, but just grabbing the rubber and you can just pull them through. Lay them out of your way. 24. And if you make sure the caps are loose too, that helps. So we'll get these in. We'll throw the green connectors on these real quick, and then we'll route them so you can kind of see what the top looks like. Now normally I'll just pull them all through, throw all the green things on, and I'll just route them. Again, I've done a ton of these suckers, so for me, you know, I don't mind the chaos a little bit. I can work through that. But for showing you guys, it's probably gonna be easier to just do them in segments. So I actually gotta get testing some controllers too. Cause I got a bunch of people who we got a bunch of built ones over there that need to be tested. So we get sent out to you guys this week. The ones that have purchased some. 32. Okay, see this one right here, it's tight, like it just don't want to go in there. So a little trick, pull the nut off. Sometimes you just gotta do this. Pull the nut, throw the nut on it. God, I got a little tickle in my throat. Take the rubber out, throw the rubber on, and it's just sometimes they just get twisted. So you just kind of manually get that rubber over top of it like that. And I've got some, I just pull them out. I just don't even fight with them. They're only taking me a second, and then I'll just pull the rubber and the nut down here like this, and then hold on to that, and I'll focus them through like that. and then I'll just kind of wiggle that rubber in, and then re-wiggle the cap back on, just kind of there, like that. So I'm gonna lay these out like this. Get these out of my way for the next round. Okay. Now start back over, 17. Because again, the odds are going to go on the top side. So, again, loosen the nut, Ricky. That might help. And you get to put the green connectors on. Now we know everyone loves to put those things on. I actually don't mind it. I mean, it's kind of relaxing at this point. I've done so many of them that I can just sit down and do them. Like with all the pigtails, sometimes I'll get Zach or Alicia to help me feed pigtails, and they'll just get a whole bunch ready for me and just bring them over. And I'll just sit down and just screw green connectors on for hours. I can just have like YouTube playing or something where I can hear something. Thing is, we're almost done. We're probably within 15-20 minutes of this controller being done, I'm thinking. Really, this bottom row is the suckier of the two rows. The top row will go really quick. So the green connectors won't take but a second. Throw on this row. And then we'll dress up these and then slap them top pigtails in and turn it back on, make sure we're good. We can cut this video and hopefully it was helpful for you assembling these controllers. The other thing too is you push them in sometimes and you pull them back out, it resets the rubber in this sleeve, and then they pull really nice. So another little trick sometimes to these glands. So then just making sure they're loose is helpful. Okay, so now they're all in. What we're gonna do is take them all and throw them all over here. Get these out of our way. Now, Zach was so kind that he actually prepped out a bunch of these for us earlier. He was dumping on the table. Now I use a different drill. I use this awesome Black & Decker from Walmart. It was like 20 bucks, 25 bucks. The old 12 volt, removable battery. And then I use a straight bit. It's out of a little Craftsman kit, which I can probably get Zach to get out and show you guys. But it seemed to hold up. I can get about 1,000 green connectors per bit. This is the little Craftsman bit I buy. Again, it's got a nice little kit. It's like $6.99 Lowe's. There's like a couple of the straight ones that I actually can use in the kit. But that works great for these little green things. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna take a second and we're gonna throw these on. Now, if you get decent pigtails, I can tell you that there's several people who sell them that are good. If they're tinned and you got a pretty good section tinned here, like these are, I leave them. If they have a nice clean tinning, I'll use them and connect them in. I have cut them off in the past and done that, but then I kind of went away from it. As long as you get them tight, and I can tell you, I get them tight enough for that drill, it usually will mess up the green connector if you try to take it apart. I never have any that get loose. If you have the occasional that needs to be stripped, strip them. But again, if you have decent pigtails with the tinning right, they'll slide up in there. You want enough tinning to get up in there, enough case, and then I'll just put them in there. It's blue, yellow, brown. on these connectors, and then I'll just tighten them down. You can give them a little pull. Like I said, I mean, these ain't, I can tell you they're not coming out. And I'll just set it aside. And we'll just blast through these real fast. And then we're gonna route the box real fast. And we'll do the top deck, and we'll end this video.
Ferrules.
Huh?
You want to touch on ferrules?
I can touch on ferrules. It's the same as I talked about with the clamps earlier. A lot of people started ferruling these things, crimping ferrules on. And again, I have the same mentality as I do with that. Is this is a mechanical connection, and technically, I mean, the ferrules are pretty. I use ferrules at work for my controllers with the push to lock system. So basically, you push them in and they grab. I mean, the ferrules work great for that. But again, you got a mechanical connection that you're going to crimp on a ferrule, and then you're going to try to use a mechanical connection to tighten it back up. So it just makes no sense to have two mechanical connections like that. Unless you're going to solder it, it's useless. And then again, the ferrules are so, I mean, you think the tinning is hard? A ferrule is hard. So to tighten it down on a ferrule, I mean, you can do it, but I mean, I'm telling you, you pull this back apart, it's flat. That tinning's flat. It's bound. Again, I mean, I have no issues. But again, you got to make sure you have enough. There's enough wire stripped. I've seen some where they're just little nubs. It's not good tinning, not good tinning, not good, you know, any of that. So if that's the case, you're going to have to strip them.
Like this one here.
Yeah, that one's not real good. See how that one's?
Probably not. Like,
You see how it's not very good? Now, you get occasionally those. That one, I'll have to strip that one. There's just not enough there. There's not enough. You get those occasionally? And even in a good batch, you know, a batch of good ones, you know, I mean, again, you got some guy just dipping them. It's, they only do so good. So you just got to watch them as you're putting them together. And determine if they're, you know, good enough to not strip back. Again, some people probably watch this video and critique it, but I mean, this is what I do. Right or wrong, this is how I've been doing it. We've done thousands of them like this. And I don't get too many issues. And generally the issues that I get are not related to my craftsmanship. And if you're still hanging out with me at this point in the video, which you may, I don't know how long this video is.
I can't see the clamp.
I'm just hoping it's actually recording.
Yeah, it looks like it is.
That would really suck if it didn't.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking this controller back apart.
We'll just have to go with that video.
I should double check, make sure it's that, you know, we're recording this on my iPhone, and he's not very iPhone compatible. As long as the button ain't red, we should be good.
Well, it is red, but it's a stop sign.
I think that's good.
Mm-hmm. Again, I can't see the counter.
You know, I always kind of give them like a little tug, just force a habit for me. there you go. There's 16 of them. Now let's route them. Okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna route the bottom row first, and then I'm gonna lay them in there, and then I'm gonna pull them, and then I'm gonna route the top row, and we're gonna pull them, and we're gonna try to do this so you can kind of see it, but probably I won't be able to show you completely. So let me, I mean, you'll get the gist when you see it. I just got to get these sorted back out and get the right ones on the right side over here. So I want the bottom row first. I want the order of them. Okay, so basically I'm going to start right here with 18. So 18 is going to plug into the bottom row of this board. Okay, so we're going to do 18, and then I'm going to pull him like this. Can you see in the board? Can you see in there? Yes?
Kinda, sorta.
Kinda. What I'll do is I'll pull it and kind of show you what it looks like after. So I don't like them tight, but I kind of pull it so there's like a little loop in here like this, and I can lay it over like that. But there's a little loop in here. I don't want to yank on it. So just a little loop like that. That should be good. I'm not going to tighten that nut yet. Then we're going to go to the next one. Just 20. Okay. Same thing, I'm gonna pull 20. I'm gonna tuck it down in there. And I'm gonna pull 20 kind of on top of it. So it's gonna lay like that. And it kind of lays right in here, nice and clean. And then we're gonna come in here, we're gonna grab, and we kind of route that around. And grab 22. And pull him. Same thing. And then we're going to grab 24 and route him across the bottom. And we're going to plug him in like that and pull 24. What I'll do is I'll do this whole left side, and then I'll kind of show you exactly what's going on here. Okay, so that's the 4 here. And you can kind of see I've got them kind of just laid on top, nice and neat. Not too tight because I don't want to rip on the thing. A decent little loop. It's out of the way of our little connector. And just they route down straight in. So now let's go to the top row. Let's grab 17. We're going to pull 17 and do the same thing. Kind of flop it down. And then we're going to grab 19. Snap them in. Pull 19. Down in. On top. And then the last one on this side will be 23. Some of these just don't like, I don't like the 3-prongers. I like the 4s. A little bigger, and they seem to snap in a little nicer. I don't know. I guess that's just my opinion. Okay, so this side right here, you can kind of see how I run them all straight across like this, and then they kind of just loop down, and they all sit pretty nice right here. I still don't like what this one's doing. This one is not snapping in well. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's not snapping at all.
That one, it's not snapping at all.
No, I don't know. It could be this. Could be that guy. Could just be the green connector. Maybe the green connector does not feel good. Let's throw it over there. And I'd rather just, can't really see it, but they are super compressed where I had put them in before. I just didn't like how that one was snapping in. I don't know if it was a connector or what it was. It just wasn't sitting in. It wasn't sitting in right. Didn't like it. Yeah, it was a connector. This one wouldn't snap right in. Now I'm going to take another one of these zip ties. We're going to zip tie that just like that. Now let's go to the other side. So I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this top row over here out of our way. Okay. And then we're going to start with this one. So 32 first. 32 is on the bottom. I'm going to pull 32 and tuck them down same way. Just kind of over like that. 32. Then 30. Sometimes I pull them a little too much, so I'll push them back a little bit. I'm doing the same thing with this one. I don't know why. Some of these are just horrible. It's gonna suck for the people who have bad ones. Because they ain't like they have extras like we do. Some of them just ain't pushing on that board well. Maybe it came on a different board or something. They all come from Kulp stuff, I thought.
They did.
Yeah, see, that one snapped right in. I don't get it. Okay. Let's grab the next one.
That's not too bad.
No, it's not even real good. And you kind of pull it, route it down there where you want it. And the last one on the bottom here. You just got right here. Again. I wonder if we got a batch of bad ones or something. Sorry guys, you have to go through this in the video. I don't know what's going on with some of these ring connectors. Unless they came on a different board. They yanked out and they just
a little bit different maybe.
They're a little different, but they're just not snapping like I like them. When they come on a Kulp stuff, all we have for 3 stuff is Kulp. I don't know. It's just weird. Something for us to try on a different board, maybe. I don't know. Again, you kind of see how I got them tucked in here. They kind of wrapped around underneath the bottom. They're kind of nice and neat, laid off to the side. And then we're going to start with the next round. See, generally I'll push them on like that. I usually go a little quicker. Just run them all on like this. You kind of see how they have to go. See? It's these two right here, same thing. It's like the light green one. We have to have a different setting here. I didn't realize it was a difference. I guess don't mix up your green connectors. I have some that are just a little bit different than the others.
Might just be a different matching or something.
Yeah. But I can see that they're a little bit lighter. And the lighter ones just ain't clipping in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else we had that had 3 connectors on it. Yeah. There's a lesson for you. Don't mix your green connectors up. At least on Kulp stuff. Okay. Now they're all snapped in. have the zip tie for this, and I'll show you guys what this looks like. We'll move on to the Ethernet cables next, and then we'll put the last 16 pigtails in, and we're done.
You throw them on the floor.
Yeah, that's what I like to do. Throw them on the floor. Okay, so now as you can see, these are routed up through here. These are routed up through here. Like here and here. You can see there's plenty of space. They're nice and clean. I know it was tight to put them in. The next set are going to be real nice because they're right up high. So that's all done. What I'm going to do is, I like how they're all sitting. So I'm just going to run through real quick and just snug these up a little bit here. I can loosen these back up. I need to fight that later on. Okay, so now let's put these in real quick. So now if you look at the layout out here, it says there 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's 1.
I can't see the sticker, but I can see you pointing to the connectors.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, like the things. About 10, 15 more minutes, honey. Well, I'll have to heat mine up. 1, 2, 3, 4. So on the other side, we're going to plug them in like that. So one actually is one of the ones that we already pre-put in here. So one, you got 33 through 36, which would be 1. Okay, and then the other one that's already pre-done is actually number 3. So if you look at your numbers here, that's actually going to be 41 through 44, which is that guy. Okay, let's get our other connectors here. We know that this one, if we look out here, is going to be number 2. So we know that one's here. And then this one's number 3. 4, sorry. Ooh. Like that, okay? Now, what I like to do with these is I like to route them kind of like this. There's them extra holes right there in the power supplies. They work great for this. So I'm going to put my zip tie through here. I'm going to come up, I'm going to grab these loosely. Not going to zip it yet. Then I'm going to come up here in this other hole in the front. I'm going to grab my zip tie, start him as well. Get these laid down like this. So I'm going to kind of lay them back like this so they look somewhat neat. Like that. Now I'll run these. Like that. I tuck them over. That looks nice. So, like that. So, you see, we kind of got them zip tied and real nice and neat and clean right here. Okay, this is all nice and neat and pushed in, clean. The third one, let's go ahead and put this last Ethernet cable in. So that's going to plug in here, and then we're going to plug in up front here. So we're going to plug that in like this, okay? And then just route this down underneath this plate, like this, and put it just on top of these wires. When your next set of wires come in on top of it, it won't be in the way, but it'll just stay right down there nice and neat and clean. And now we're gonna grab our last set and quickly do these. As Alicia said, my dinner's ready. So we're gonna blast through these next 16. And this controller will be a wrap. But I just wanna show you how we route these real quick. So this won't take about a second to do.
Sorry, I understand now. Same concept as before.
Yeah. Cut them. And again, you can pre-do this. Of course, if you're watching the video, you won't pre-do it because I just told you to pre-do it.
Unless they watched the video before they built it.
Yeah. And if you're still hanging in there with me, God bless you. If you fast forward it, because I bored you, Sorry, but maybe at least your controller's built. That's what I'm doing. Let's get the scissors out of the way. It's kind of backwards for me right now. Yeah, so this won't take but a second. The top row goes way faster than the bottom row. At least now I know I can send out everyone's kit because I know the kit works because I built this as a kit. And the only mess up I had was a short 2 wing nuts. So that's exciting. I must remember that when I build another kit later. Probably should. Okay, it's the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to start with 2. I'm going to go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 up through. That's again how I used to do them. Now these I'm a little less picky because pretty much they're not laying in there as like the others, like the rest. But I hope these all go through decent. So I'm going to have to take them apart. So it's going to suck if we do. So 2, 4. These go a lot quicker because again you can actually reach them. So reaching them is good. It's less in the way. It just gets kind of compact. Where I split the board from the power supplies from our original design, it stole the space for these. But again, it's not really a big whoop to me because I'd rather have the space back there for the wires. To me, that's a little better. Again, you know, if you see somewhere to improve or whatever, shoot me an email. You know, message me and say, hey, Ricky, you know, this is kind of stupid. I don't know why you did it this way. Oof, this one. Now this one is tight. I'm not sure what's going on with this one. It's probably just a rubber, crooked rubber. Yep, see, what happens is the rubber kind of gets crooked in there sometimes. And when it does that, it just won't go in. I don't care how much you try to force it, it just ain't gonna happen. And then, last but not least, 16 on this one. Give the odds on the top. Another tight one. Oh, this thing's gonna go. Generally, you open it up and you can see it right off. Again, some of these glands I get and some of these wires I get, they just like, they fall through. I Other ones, I mean, it don't matter. You get them from the same vendor. It's the same thing. I just don't understand why the consistency is so bad. And again, you can always just blow a big hole in the bottom and just throw them all up in there. It's always that route. And sometimes I'll just pull these out and just putting the connectors on, especially the big boxes where I can't reach the bottom very well. The 48 gets really tight at the bottom. I'll just pre-do them like that so I don't fight them in. These last few, it's gonna be a real pain. It's like they get compressed and they get stuck in. And if you actually pull them apart, you see they're kind of, it's like the nut got tightened on the rubber, and then they sat like that for a while. And then $15, the one we've been looking for. And he went in. Okay. So now let's quickly do the green things and get this one done so you guys can do your stuff. Okay, let's hope these green connectors are all good. That's a light one. These are good. Try to catch it if I see a light one. Yeah, I don't know if they want to come on. It had to have been a different cold board. Maybe like a, I don't know, it sounds like this one has a little nub on it, so we're gonna go ahead and cut that off. So it only takes me a second to blast through 16 of these. So. Yeah, this would probably be a great spot for that YouTube music that everyone plays, that whatever that music is. I don't know. It's like 3 songs that they all use. Maybe someday I'll become like a YouTube star doing these awesome controller build videos. I doubt it. That was the big thing. So do we just release it to everybody? Or do we just put it out there for the people who buy the kits? That's the question. I mean, I guess if I release it out there, everybody want to buy a kit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I guess that means the kit would have to be on our website.
Mm-hmm. If your website guy would have to do something.
That means I need to get my website guy to put that on there. almost got that sucker lick. I'm gonna lay these in here real fast, and then call this one a wrap. Interesting to see how long it took me to actually do this with you. Build this controller. You never just build one controller start to finish. I build like 5 at once.
Well, 5 could be different. Like this last round.
Okay. I believe that's all of them. Occasionally I miss one, we're gonna go for it, okay? So, on this one right here, 1 is on the top row, and obviously 2's on the bottom row. So, what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna start right here with 1, and I'm just gonna plug in 1, and then I'm gonna go to 2. So, unlike before where I did that, I'm gonna go right across and just kind of lay them all to the left here. 1, 2, 3, which, yeah, that one, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, this is 9. Oh. What did I do? I skipped one. Sorry. That happens. 7. 7's one of the weird light ones. There's a controller around here that takes these light ones. I don't know where it is. Which one it is. Or maybe they'll just work on another controller. Who knows? So weird. I've never had this happen. I've never had this happen before. Seven. Sorry, I got distracted. So now 8. 9. 10. 11. 12. 13. 14. 15. 16. So you see I kind of put them all in. I just laid them all in a big loop like this, and now I'm gonna do
Down the table this way.
on the table.
It's working way down that way.
Yeah, well, it's because these cables kind of like pushing me that way. Figure out what they go to?
Yeah, this one right here.
Ah, the K8 uses different ones.
Well, they're the same. It's just like it's probably a different batch of them.
A different batch of them. Okay. Well, we figured out where the light ones go. They go in the little K8. Okay. So now I'm going to start backwards, and I'm just going to kind of pull these things till they do like a loop. And I work backwards. Ooh, bottom first. And you just don't, I don't want them tight because I want to be able to get to the fuses if we need to. The thing too is when you do them one at a time, you can tell if you mess one up like I just did. As it happens. I double check them that way. That one should be number 12, and it is now. the bottom row should be on the bottom. The top row should be on the top. So when you're pulling them through like this, if you have one backwards, it's a dead giveaway because the way the wires lay. The bottom should be on the bottom. I'm stressing these in a second. I kind of get them close, then I'm going to go back through and just kind of give them a little adjustment so they all kind of match and they all look decent. And I leave a little bit of room in here. See how I can I leave a little room so I can still get to everything if I have to. And I'm pretty happy with how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and snug this down. Okay, there's all of our pigtails in there. There's our powers, our Ethernets. That's our box finished off. You can see we're all nice and neat laid in here. You got that. These are laid in. Everything's laid in nice and neat. You got yourself a nice professional looking box. And then for fun, let's do one more power up. Like that. As you can see, all the lights are coming on. Let's let it boot up here a second. We'll plug in a strand of pixels that we hope work. And we'll make light. And what I will do after, not in this video, is we will run through and I'll plug lights into every one of these and test them. Make sure they work. And then I'm going to plug my network into this top one. Make sure I can get an IP.
Check the interface, make sure we can access it.
Yeah, make sure I can access the interface on a computer. And then I'm going to fire up and I'm going to send this to a receiver with pixels on it. And I'm going to test all 4 of those. Make sure they work. And then this one can go on to its new home. Which actually this one happens to be Robert Petty's controller. So he can go back and watch this video and see how we built it. Robert Petty could just watch it over and over. You want to go ahead and make it? Is it ready?
No.
Ain't ready. God, it's so slow. Slower than me. Booting, 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 booting. So, while this is booting, I hope that this video did serve you well when you're building your controller. And I said be looking forward to our K16 build that'll be coming up, and that will take half as long because it's half the controller. And we'll probably try to do a few other releases of a few other different builds as we have time. Again, it's kind of busy season for us, so it's a little bit harder to do these. So what do I gotta do to make this one work? This is idle. Look at that. And they work. Beautiful. There you go. Oh, how pretty. It's the best. So, again, we'll be testing them all, but, I mean, they all should work, right? We plug them in. So, there is your built controller. Now, like I said, what I'll do is I'll pull them straight. I kind of put my heat shrinks here towards the front, and I'll heat the back up, and I'll just suck it right around nice and neat and clean. And then when we're done, and then the big test back, watch this. When we're done, watch this little trick.
Move it so that you can see. No, this way.
Ready?
Yeah.
Actually, I can unplug it now because it's running.
Yep.
For the big test, ready? Your lid closes. Just like that. Beautiful. Well, that's it.